Let's take a closer look at one of our top stories now. This is apropos. People in New York have just a few hours to choose their next mayor. Over 1.2 million people have already cast their votes in the hotly contested three-way race between Democratic Socialist candidate Zohran Mamdani, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who's running as an independent, and the Republican candidate Curtis Wheeler. Mandani looks increasingly like the one to beat in these elections. Votes for him would give the city its first Muslim mayor and its youngest leader in generations. US President Donald Trump has been vocal about his opposition to Mandani. He's called him a communist. On Tuesday, the president said any Jewish person who votes for the Democratic candidate is a stupid person. Eliza Herbert has more.
The Big Apple is casting a big vote. And this man, Zohran Mamdani, feels it is time for a new style of leadership. The self-described socialist Democrat put affordability at the heart of his mayoral campaign, pledging rent freezes, free buses, universal childcare and higher corporate taxes.
It is time now for a new day in our politics, and it is an honor and a privilege to be a part of a movement that has fought every single day to bring that day forward.
If elected, the 34-year-old would become New York's second youngest and first Muslim mayor, an outcome Donald Trump is trying to prevent.
If you have a communist running New York.
The US president went so far on Tuesday as to accuse any Jewish Mamdani voters of being stupid, based on his unfounded claim that Mamdani is anti-Semitic. Andrew Cuomo, who is running for mayor as an independent after his surprise loss to Mandani in the Democratic primaries, has also gone on the attack. The former governor of New York State is hoping to reboot his political career after he resigned in 2021 over sexual assault allegations. He says the outcome of this race could determine the future of the Democratic Party.
Well, I think what you're seeing is a civil war in the Democratic Party that has been brewing for a while. You have an extreme radical left that is run by the socialists that is challenging what they would call moderate Democrats. I'm a moderate Democrat. And that contest is what you're seeing here, but you're seeing it all across the country.
Republican Curtis Wheeler is also in the running. However, he has an uphill battle if he's going to win in the Democratic stronghold of New York.
We're going to speak more on Mandani's momentous rise now and bring in Laura Tamman. She's a clinical assistant professor of political science at Pace University. She joins us from New York. Laura, thank you so much for joining us on the programme. Mandani has basically gone from a little-known assembly member to a social media sensation and now the very likely next mayor of New York. Why are people so drawn to him, do you think?
It's a great question. I think the combination of him being the same person off camera that he is on camera is really appealing to people at a time when they're losing trust in government. His laser focus on the message of affordability obviously really won young people over, well, actually won people over from all age groups. And he's bringing an energy to our politics that is new. He'll be the youngest mayor that New York has had in 100 years, and people seem excited for change.
Well, you mentioned there that he has a massive base among young people, very popular among young people. How much of this is about him being young? How much of the draw here is the fact that he is young and younger Americans, generally speaking, want to have people in charge that are their own age that they can relate to?
They are drawn to people who they can relate to for sure, but he also does have the experience of being a member of the assembly for several years. So he has enough experience that he's been able to speak to make his policy proposals realistic and achievable. But I think that both him being younger and the issues that he has talked about have been what has excited young people. And he's used the media medium that is natural to them, social media. He is native to social media. He understands how to use it and how to be himself on social media in a way that's very compelling to people. So that's why I think young people are really excited about this.
Well, much of the Democratic old guard is skeptical about Mandani. Talk to us about the hesitation. Why are they so skeptical of him?
You know, I think they're kind of stuck in the old world and they're trying to quickly catch up now. But it's pretty clear that Americans are closer to where Mamdani is than to where the folks who have been in office for the last 30 or 40 years are. Democrats, the polling is clear, are really unhappy with how Senator Schumer and the minority leader Hakeem Jeffries have been leading in the Congress, and Americans seem eager for change.
Well, isn't it time for the Democrats that are skeptical? You know, there's been so much soul searching in the party since Donald Trump won last year. Isn't it time for these Democrats to sort of get with the program and actually learn from Mandani's very successful campaign so far?
Yeah, I think anybody who wants to be successful in politics would be foolish to write him off as a one-off or as just someone who's able to succeed in a big city. He's had such broad appeal. Yes, he appeals to young people, but he wins most demographics of voters in New York City. And America has always been a diverse place, and increasingly so. He doesn't just appeal to ideological progressives. You know, one of the things that helped him break through was he went and talked to people who voted for Donald Trump about why they did that. And that was one of the things that really made him into a contender. So he's showing a new style of politicking in America, somebody who listens, someone with a lot of energy, someone who's young and relatable. And I think smart Democrats are taking notes.
Well, Mandani's, much of his campaign has been about the cost of living in New York. He's proposed universal childcare, a rent freeze, free bus travel and grocery shops run by the city. He's proposing paying for it by taxing the rich and corporations in New York. How feasible are those plans? I mean, some say that he'll bankrupt the city. What do you think?
Yeah, so I actually think his plans are pretty realistic. Depending on what Donald Trump does with New York's tax dollars, President Trump could definitely cause some problems for Mamdani, but it was very telling to me that Governor Hochul of New York, who would be a necessary partner for advancing most of his agenda, she endorsed his most expensive proposal, which is universal childcare, and said she sees a path to achieving it. The rent freeze is something he can do unilaterally without needing anyone's approval or a tax hike. And the free buses is something he's going to need to work on with the state legislature. The grocery stores is a small pilot project that he's proposing that isn't expensive at all. So I think his policy agenda is actually very realistic.
Well, as you mentioned there, Donald Trump has threatened to withhold federal funding from New York if Mandani comes out on top. How legally possible is that? Does Donald Trump have the right to do that?
I think that Donald Trump is currently testing the boundaries of what he's legally able to do, and we're going to have to see how both the Congress and the courts react to what he's doing, because he is just grabbing power on a level that is unprecedented, and the other branches of government are not reacting the way that they have in the past to provide guardrails. So I think it's unclear at the moment how that's going to turn out.
And of course, Mandani has very much embraced his Muslim faith. He's been very vocal about the war in Gaza. Talk to us about how much that has helped him in gaining support in the city.
What I think has really helped him is that he knows what it's like to be an immigrant. He knows what it's like to be a member of a religious minority. And New York, one of the great things about the city is how diverse it is, how many immigrants come here, how many people are are from immigrant families. And so I think that relatability has really helped him understand voters and understand how to connect with them and what's important to them. And it helps that it's a stark contrast with Andrew Cuomo, who doesn't have that same lived experience as Mamdani.
Laura, it was great to speak to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the programme and giving us your thoughts. Really great to have that breakdown from you. Stay with us here on World Roundup. We're going to take a very short break.